welcome back to another episode of Generation Sports Fantasy Edition. Let's kick it. That's right. We're back and we're better than ever. And I got with me a nice little panel of people. As always, though, I got my co-host, the guy who froze looking like he's taking it in the mouth. It's my boy.
What's up?
All right. Go ahead. Who else we got in here today? Look at this guy sitting on the pole. Introduce yourself, Mr. Pole Dancer.
Man, I quit my job to be here today with you guys, okay? You got your league leader.
Okay.
Sounds intense.
He's just like a cab driver, bro.
We got the other guy out there doing Uber driving,
Taxi cab.
Country, let's ride.
Taxi cab confessions.
Yeah.
And then, as always, we have the gentleman who does nothing but blesses everybody in the group. It's our boy.
Blessings be to all.
That's right. Blessings be to all. All right,
so we got furthest from heaven.
We got a good episode in store for everybody today. We're going to talk a little bit about the first 2 weeks of actions. We're all going to go around the room, and we're going to tell a little bit about who we think are the busts after 2 weeks and who are a surprise breakout players after 2 weeks. And then if we have time, we can jump in and break out a little bit about the upcoming matchups and what we predict is going to happen this week, especially since a couple of the matchups. So no, I guess only two of us are playing against each other this week, but that's okay. We'll still talk about it a little bit. But yeah, let's go ahead. I'll start with my co-host, Mr. Terry. What do you think, man? Give me at least one fantasy bust so far this season and one fantasy breakout after 2 weeks. Obviously, we all know these are complete overreactions. It's only been 2 weeks, but let's go ahead with it.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of wanted to go last, but that's okay. I can go.
Should have told me that before we started.
No worries. So are we talking about bust based on where we draft them as our own league, or just in general?
It could be either one. I think more of a general, because I think most draft positions are pretty accurate pretty similar across the board. There's always going to be those outliers of players that got drafted in our league in different places. But I think let's go more general, right? So let's talk about players that are, consensus same draft areas and just aren't panning out to be
for sure
they were drafted to be.
All right. So, I'm going to, as far as like first round picks, I'm going to have to go with Derrick Henry. I think, especially in our league, there was a huge trade that happened just a few hours before our draft where, Mr. D traded to get the number 3 pick. And, as we move into the draft, he decided to pick Derrick Henry with the 3rd pick, which essentially changed a lot, in our league because, it made players like Eckler and, Justin Jefferson and all those players fall, after the 5th pick. And so far, Derrick Henry, he's I think in our league, because we get the 0.25 points per carry, he's actually the only reason that he's gone over double digits points. Other than that, he's in the single digits, bro, everywhere else. So, I think, we kind of had that somewhat expectation, because, AJ Brown gone, right? There's no offense, a lot of stacking, but man, that's gotta hurt, bro. To draft him as a third pick in the first round, that hurts a lot.
Yeah, you're right. He's at 25.2 points. And he just sits right above like Josh Jacobs and Jeff Wilson and JD McKissick. Like that's bad. I think he's ranked 50 something in our league, 53.
Yeah, in our league it's a little bit better because
he's definitely not even top 25 right now. I'm looking at
the
top 25 rankings. He's not top 25.
He only has 4 targets and 1 reception.
And that's pretty bad when you're talking about a player that was taken top 5 in a lot of leagues, not just number 3 overall, but he's taken top 5 in a lot of leagues, and he's not even a top 25 running back right now. I would agree. Yeah. That is qualified as a bust.
That's a good one, Terry.
So
All right, Gary, why don't you go with your bust? We'll move down the line.
He's not that exciting for a bus player, but I mean, I thought that he would do a little bit better than he has been doing, and he's doing a lot worse than Derrick Henry. I'm going to go with Ezekiel Elliott, and I know that people are passing on him, and he was a late second, possibly early third, but I think he's doing a lot worse than that. I mean, Rex Burkhead's doing better than he is. You know, he's on the verge of getting cut from the Cowboys, and then they can play Tony Pollard.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the thing about him. He's definitely a bust for fantasy, but the problem is Jerry Jones runs that team, and I know everybody disagrees, but with Jerry Jones being the GM, he's going to still be the starter. They're not going to make a change. It's just not going to happen. They don't care. Like, I get everybody say, oh, but the talent, like, dude, they know the talent's better with Pollard than Zeke. They've always known it. But they don't.
But it's the
matter.
$50 million. It's the $50 million guaranteed. It's a $90 million contract.
That's where he's at.
Is what's going on?
Yeah,
well,
you're not
He
gonna
just paid $50 million guaranteed.
But other teams would, I think, if it was on a different team, they would not be afraid to sit him or not have him as the starter or give him less reps in order to match, because it's not always about just the money. We've seen high-paid players get benched and cut. I mean, high draft picks, things like that. But it's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is going to do things the way he wants to do them, not the way that people think he should do it.
Yeah, I think that one more thing. I know I don't think a lot of people were high on him. As far as like.
He was going like the late third, early fourth.
Yeah, he was like that. I think a lot of people
RB2 range, but he's like RB.
I think the idea was, when you got to that place of like the end of the third, the early fourth, and you're seeing Ezekiel Elliott, right there, you being like, oh, I'm getting value right here, like this is the pick,
Exactly.
And,
they probably feel like if you try to go that 0 RB, you try to take Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah,
right. No, and it's still doing bad. I think it's still pretty bad. I was just saying that, like the expectations from him, I don't think they were this bad. But of course, the offensive line before even the NFL season started, they were already, took a hit with the linemen. So, but anyway, yeah, he's another one that, boy, what are you gonna do, Mr. Easy?
Yeah. All right, Mr. Blessings Beats All. Who's your bust so far?
Austin Eckler.
Ooh,
some
controversy. Okay,
I think I saw Gary shed a tear.
It's. I mean, he's just not getting. And Austin Eckler does a fantasy podcast. Like he does a fantasy show, and he said, I guess like he wants his touches limited so he can try to stay more healthy throughout the year. But I mean, his last 2 games. Hasn't gotten over 40 yards rushing. He's not nearly as involved in the passing game as he's been in the past. And for where he's getting drafted and, was essentially top 5, maybe 6. And for him, what is he running back now?
13.
Man, that's for someone who we expected to be in the top 5 and where he's at right now with his production, to me, he's mine.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I don't know if I quite qualify him as a bust just yet. I know if you're drafting somebody in top 5, you don't expect them to have a start like this. I completely agree on your train of thought, but at the end of the day, he's still 13. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if he's outside, he's still a number 2 running back in the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's different than when we're talking about somebody like Derrick Henry, who's not even considered a number 2 running back on your squad for fantasy football. I mean, so yeah, the production's not where you want it to be. It's not good enough, but I don't know if I'd quite say he's a bust yet.
Well, you
if
can't.
He's a little further down the list.
He's 1 point away from McCaffrey. So if he's a bust, then McCaffrey's a mega bust.
Right. I think. I mean, I definitely. Here's the thing, right? So Eckler scored 20 touchdowns last year, right? This season he has 0. So that's a huge thing right there as far as what his numbers are not. If he were to score a touchdown each of the first 2 weeks, we would not be talking about this. The problem is that, that last game, if you watch that game, Eckler was not doing good until like that last 5
Yeah,
6 minutes.
he went off. Yeah, he went
5
off
6
with a bunch
minutes.
of catches. Yeah,
That was a bunch of catches.
Like 4 or 5 catches, all of that.
That was it. So what's happening is that like the QB he's not looking for him. Herbert's not looking for him as a drop, kind of pass going for it. He's just swinging the ball, man.
Let me ask you this. Terry, do you think Herbert can throw the long ball after that injury?
But we're talking about bust up to 2 weeks, right? Like we could see, you're right. You could see him doing better because of that.
But he's got upside. He's got potential.
All right, here, I'll switch it up. Real quick so we don't dwell too much on that. What about Kyle Pitts?
That's a good one. Absolutely. His draft capital,
Yeah.
where he was taken 100%. 4 targets after 2 games, right?
Yeah.
4 receptions, sorry.
He has two receptions and for 13 yards each of the first 2 games. 13? So 19 or 13.
19.
Yeah, that's definitely a bust.
Yeah, that's gotta be.
Well, I hope he does that.
But I still just like I said, Eckler, I just expected him to get on that offense, just be I understand 13, but running backs in general, for the most part, unless you're in the top, like the top 2, top 3, running backs in general are all very low right now.
Yeah, I would agree. What do you got, AJ? Who's your bust so far, bro?
Besides your team.
Cam Akers. Bro, ever since he got the Achilles injury, it's never been the same. He don't even look that good. I think he's a bust.
I don't know.
I agree. Cam Akers, because you said have 2. Cam Akers was my other one.
See, I get it, but I don't. Once again, I don't agree with that. The team already said that he wasn't going to be like the guy right now. They're easing him back in. They knew that he's still dealing with the shit, even though I get he came back in the playoffs, which is why but he wasn't even drafted that high. I mean, where was his average ADP? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Akers
he was in the third round.
Was he? Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I'm mistaken. Then he's a bust. But I don't know. I was never. I didn't personally think of him as a bust only because I don't expect him to get going for a few weeks. Like
why though? But
why?
Where he was drafted, like James Robinson, he seems to be doing pretty well. Achilles injury. And has less time to recover. Akers, they tried to give Akers the ball last game. They tried to make Akers a thing. And what he have like 2-point-something yards per carry? It's like for where you draft him and what you thought Akers was gonna be. Like people thought Akers was gonna be a thing this year for sure.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Especially because he actually came back last year from the injury and he played. And he actually played. So it wasn't like he was injured and then he's just coming back like James Robinson. He actually played last year. So there was hope that, hey, he was fine. He's healthy.
Right.
Let's go for it. And, and the fact that first game, man, I mean, that was horrible. If you drafted somebody in the 3rd round and that first game, they don't give you the ball and then your coach comes back later and says he has to do better with those limited opportunities. I mean, that's your starting running back right there. That's for sure.
All right. I wasn't going to go this way, but since we're kind of in that running back theme, I'll go ahead and I'll stick with it, and I'll go Dalvin Cook. That's my bust right now.
And the reason, I didn't even know he was playing last night.
That's the thing, and that's the reason why. That's one of the reasons. Now they could change it, but if we go strictly by the first 2 games, that offense looks like they have no desire to get him involved in the game whatsoever. And that's very concerning. This is a guy who's drafted in the 1st round of damn near every draft. You're expecting him to be a number 1 running back. He's 24th ranked right now in our league with the points with the 0.25 like we talked about. But my concerns are like when we talk about Eckler and the usage, right? That's why we were trying to talk to him about being a bust because of where he was drafted and the way the team looks to be utilizing him. It's the same thing going on in Minnesota. They don't seem like they want to get him involved. Dalvin Cook has never been a guy, like even Eckler can do this better than Dalvin Cook, where you don't have to get the momentum going. You can give him the ball a few times and Austin Eckler can find a way to break one deep and go for a big run. Dalvin Cook's the type of guy who needs the reps. He needs to be pounding into people and wearing them down like a Derrick Henry style running back. You know what I mean? And for them to use him the way he is, I just think that's going to be a bust.
I mean, I think you're referring more to like last night games, but he had 20 carries on week 1. So
but that's
I
only
think,
because they were dominating. That wasn't the game plan.
But if you can say the same thing about last night, I mean, last night was a weird game, bro. I mean, Minnesota had 3 interceptions by Cousins. They barely had the ball.
That was after the game was already out of reach. They never tried to establish the run with Derrick Henry at any point. And if you go back to that Green Bay game, they never tried to establish the run with Derrick Henry in that game until it was already out of hand. They weren't looking to run Henry. They're looking to pass first. They're not looking to run, and they're not looking to use him in the passing game.
I can see that. I know. I just when somebody gets 20 carries, one of those weeks, whether it's week 1 or week 2. I mean, he had a week 2, off. I mean, he still got 20 carries. He still have 4 receptions. He still have 5 targets. So yeah, last night was a crazy game, but to me, like, he still got 20 carries. You know what I mean? It's not like you're saying that.
Once again,
your
it's garbage,
argument
but
is that they didn't give him the ball.
We're talking about garbage time,
Yeah.
right? If that's how you're hoping that Minnesota's always going to be winning, if you want him to produce anything for your team,
that's fine.
Because that's the thing is, I watched that Green Bay game. Like, I watched that Green Bay Minnesota game. If you watched the game and you saw the way they were utilized, they weren't using him in the first half. They just didn't care about him. They were throwing the ball.
Hey, real quick, did they pay him?
I don't know.
Has he got a contract yet?
He might still be under contract. I think I don't know. I could be wrong.
Who are you talking about? Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a contract.
Yeah, I thought so.
Let me look.
All right. Do you guys want to do another a fantasy bust so far after 2 weeks?
No, I think I mean unless anybody got one they want to add off the. I was trying to get
Allen Robinson.
I knew that was coming.
No,
hey, I'll give you that. Allen Robinson, yeah, I can.
I mean, that's horrible. Yeah, not because you own him, but that's
no. He was the same thing. He was a late 3rd, early 4th pick. And yeah,
you don't know what to say about that.
I mean, I think
like
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb, I was gonna say.
I do not consider him a bust.
No, I don't.
Joe Burrow.
How do you not, dude? He is ranked. He's like 45th receiver in the league in our standings right now, and he was drafted as a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, listen to me.
Top 6.
There's a difference between production, opportunity, and to me, totally out the game, out the door. Like, you have, like, I don't know what's going on, right? You talk about a Cam Akers. We don't know what's going on there. He's not getting opportunities. CeeDee Lamb has gotten like 20 plus targets in the past 2 games. There's a lot of opportunity right there. So now, whether those are, on targets, right, off targets, like, I don't know too much about that yet. But to me, like, he's getting the opportunity. He hasn't performed, right? But so when I see a bust, I'm talking about like an Allen Robinson. They're like, what the heck is going on?
So you're telling me if you draft a guy to be a top 5 player at a position and he's ranked 40 something, that you're still you don't consider that a bust? Like, we're not talking about him like we are with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson was drafted in the middle, in the mid round. This is a guy that was drafted in the high 2nd round, at the latest at the end of the 2nd round. This is supposed to be a player who's going to be the foundation of your fantasy team. Like, I'm sorry, to me, that's a bust. Now, I know it was made a comment in the group chat that, hey, injury to quarterback. I get it. I understand that. But these guys that you draft in those positions are supposed to be good enough to overcome those things. If you watch the games, he doesn't appear to be getting the separation and getting the getting open like he was able to do when he had somebody else on the field with him who they had to pay attention to. They know it's CeeDee Lamb or nothing, and they're locking him the fuck down.
Okay, so let me ask you something. So, do you consider Deebo Samuel a bust?
No, not after the first 2 weeks.
And I want to tell you, so Deebo Samuel has 30 fantasy points in our league versus 20 from CeeDee Lamb. Right, so we're talking about 10 points difference between those two, right? You divide that between 2 weeks, we're talking about 5-point difference.
Okay, so, but let's not talk about points though, just points, right? Where do they rank?
What is it?
Where do they rank though? Where are they? Because 10 points is a lot. You're talking about Deebo Samuels is top 20 in the receivers versus top 40.
And where was Deebo Samuel drafted? Yeah, but he's top 20. He was drafted literally almost after Lamb, or even before Lamb in some leagues.
Okay.
So, but if
he's still your number 2 receiver,
right?
CeeDee Lamb isn't.
CeeDee Lamb right now.
Yeah, of course he will take. We're not talking about that. I'm just, it's fine. We're just getting an argument about whether somebody's a bust or not. I'm just saying
after 2 weeks, I'm sorry, CeeDee Lamb is a bust.
I'm just saying that to me,
Moody's a bust.
Oh, there's a good
bust.
one.
Yeah,
that's a bust. But the thing is, according to Terry, that wouldn't be considered that, right? Because he's getting the attempts. He's the only one getting the ball thrown to him. They're just not throwing the ball.
He's not getting the ball. He's not getting the ball at all. There's a huge difference.
He has the highest pass share on the team. They're just not throwing the ball. You know how many times they threw the ball last night? Do you know? Or 2 nights ago? 11. They threw the ball 11 times in the game.
How many targets did he get?
He got like 1 or 2, which is a fucking high percentage.
No.
Of 11, that is. 2 targets is 20% of the target share.
Listen, he got 2 targets and 3 targets. That's 5 targets versus 22 targets for Lamb.
Thrown the ball 24 times, Terry. That is 20% of the target share.
I get it. I guess we need to explain better what we consider a bust or not, because that's what we're discussing, right?
But that's my point, is that you're saying
it's 2 weeks. Move along.
Usage and shit. The last one we want to bring up for a bust, because I think it's definitely, if we're going to talk about the Bears, Cole Kmet. Bust, right?
Moody! He's a fucking bust.
Yeah.
No, Cole Kmet has 0 receptions after 2 weeks. He was supposed to be, he's projected to be like, he was a top 6 tight end taken, I think.
Tight end 1, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a bust. All right.
And Adam Thielen!
This guy's just doing weird shit out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the fantasy breakouts. So we'll start backwards. AJ, you want to scream shit out? Who's your fantasy breakout?
Saquon Barkley, boy. He had a breakout first game, and I know the second game he had come out bad, but I think he looks healthy and strong.
Okay,
Barkley.
but would you consider it? But compared to where he's drafted, is he a fantasy breakout? Really?
Well, he was supposed to be a first rounder. He was supposed to be a first rounder.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he is.
No, he
right
wasn't.
Right now,
little team biased and being that he's on your team. Well, I don't know if I would consider him a true fantasy breakout, right? He's outplaying his draft capital, but it's not like it's far and away above.
Well, he's outplaying Eckler. He's outplaying who else?
And that's what we're talking about.
This
It's
guy.
2 weeks though, but it's not like you drafted him in the 5th round and now he's the best running back. Like, that's what we're talking. People who outplay their ADP tremendously, right? Just like we said with the bust, it's about where you're drafted and where you're ranked now. That equals a bust. Same thing.
I had got him at the 202.
Oh my God, you got him at the 202, and
that's pretty good.
He's the second running back on the board right now behind Nick Chubb.
I don't see him as a fantasy breakout. I see him, yes, he's doing what people would like to see him do, but he's not a breakout.
I think the argument probably for AJ will be that if we were drafting right now, he will definitely be a first rounder.
A lot, yeah.
The way that he's
performing.
That's what I'm saying.
Fringe first rounder.
I get that, but if we were redrafting right now, Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey wouldn't be going 1 and 2. So does that mean they're both busts?
I think they still would.
Oh, you're talking about, I mean, Jonathan Taylor is still like fit, the fit running back.
Yeah, but he's not going to go number 1.
No, but he's still after 2 weeks, and then McCaffrey's still in the top 10.
I'll tell you what, if we draft right now, you can't give me enough money to draft Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall with the way that offense looks.
They look bad. How you say the.
Dude, I mean, Jonathan Taylor had 31 carries for 161 yards and 1 touchdown, plus 4 receptions for 14 yards in week 1. I think you're letting your week 2 get in your head a little bit, Mr. Checky. Like, I get it. Like, it's 1 week that they perform bad, but they still had a monster week in week 1. So to me, it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, but to call him a bust.
I never said he was. That's my point. I never said he was a bust.
I think the Barkley argument
is talking about redrafting, right? I've seen enough after the first 2 weeks. If we're redrafting, I'm not going to take him number 1. That's all I said. I never said he was a bust.
So take Barkley out of the picture.
So, all right, what do you got there, Blessings? Who's your fantasy breakout so far?
He's muted.
All right, let's go over to Gary. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I'll go. Okay, so I was looking at this earlier. I was kind of walking the line on this. First thing I wanted to say was like Greg Deutsch, but he really isn't relevant in our league, even though he has been a fantasy breakout. And then I was going with Duvernay, and I was like, wait a minute, we don't do kick return. I think that Terry, you brought that up. We don't do kick return points. And had we done that, then he would have been the fantasy breakout. I think he's been very relevant on the Ravens. But I think I'm going to go with, I kind of want to go with Amon St. Brown, but I mean, he's balling right now.
You have to, bro.
I mean, that's not a bad one, dude. He was what, 4th, 5th round pick?
But I think he's already projected. People already had high expectations for him. I think he's just exceeding those high expectations. How about like Drake London?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was down on him because of the injury. He got drafted very low. He's definitely out-producing.
His quarterback. You know what I mean? That's really Mariota is outplaying his projections as well. People are like, oh, Kyle Pitts doesn't have a quarterback. Drake London doesn't have a quarterback, and that's why everybody would feel down on him.
Yeah. All right. What do you got, Terry?
I think Filter is available.
Go ahead, Filter. Go ahead, Blessings. What do you got? Who's
your
fantasy breakout?
Christian Kirk.
Good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I like that.
I mean, he for any wide receiver metric that there is, and just same with Drake London, is the same thing. For every wide receiver metric that you want to use, air yards, target share, I mean, everything. Christian Kirk is in the top of all those statistics. And when he got paid, everybody's like, oh, why'd they pay Kirk? Why'd they pay Kirk? But in that offense and on that, being strictly the slot and being on a team where Jags have looked pretty decent and they still seem to want to be throwing a lot, Christian Kirk would be mine.
I like that one. I agree.
He's number 7 right now in PPR leagues as wide receiver.
I think 7. When you look at like you said, people always I like the part you brought up. Like everybody's like, why would you pay this guy the money? And he's coming out there and he's saying, okay, well, this is why I got paid the money. They knew what I was capable of, and they just weren't using me correctly in Arizona. And now that they're letting me be the guy, I'm showing you why I got paid that money. And you know what? I didn't see it coming. Not like this so far. So yeah, after 2 weeks, absolutely, he is a breakout.
I agree.
Hey,
what do you got, Terry?
Oh yeah, I'll let you go. I'll wait till you guys get him out.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna have to do this one, Gary, because we should have done. I don't even know how you say his name. Amon-Ra St. Brown. How do you say that? Tell me, help me. You're muted, so I can hear you. Because that's what I was gonna do. No.
Yeah,
what was it?
He's the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you right now. This guy was not anywhere near any of my list, any of my nothing, bro. I did not want any part. Number 1, Detroit's offense, right? Number 2, you drafted Jamison Williams, which we all know maybe he was not going to play the whole year. You still have DeAndre Swift. You still have Jared Goff as a quarterback. But what this guy has done in the past 2 weeks, I mean, that's just freaking insane.
Well, the thing you have to remember, this isn't the past 2 weeks, and he has an NFL. He's in this is the last. I know 8 games.
I know he's done a lot in last year, but
only towards the end though.
But you get players like that, right? Sometimes you get players that perform, and then next year comes. I mean, I don't know what kind of pedigree this guy from college, whether he had any pedigree or not. Again, nowhere near any of my list at all. But 24 targets, 3 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Over 100 yards last game. I mean, to me, man, I don't know how you stop that. Jamison Williams, I don't see him coming back anytime soon. And the way the Detroit's running that offense, is unbelievable, man. So, that was one that I lost.
Listen,
for sure.
He was on my radar, and I was going to draft him over the alleged gentleman I won't talk about. And the only reason I did not draft him is because I drafted Swift, and I thought the same thing you said about their offense. I'm like, the last thing I want is 2 pieces of the Lions offense. Like, who wants that? You know what I mean? And boy, is it kicking me in the nuts right now.
Yeah.
God, if I could go back.
Yeah, that's it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy.
Man, I got one of two players, and I don't know which one to go with, so I'll let you guys decide which one's a better choice. It's either going to be James Robinson or Curtis Samuel.
James Robinson.
Both of those guys were not on anybody's radar. Oh,
I think
James
Curtis
Robinson
Samuel was undrafted.
That's what I'm saying. Curtis Samuels wasn't even on anybody's radar at all. I think that's probably the bigger one. And this dude is 2, 4, 6, 7. He's 8th right now in our league in wide receivers. 8th.
Here's the reason why I would say not to go with him. Because we know what Curtis Samuel has been, like he's always been a breakout, right? To me, most of the Washington offense has to do with how many throws has Carson Wentz had in the past 2 weeks. How bad is that defense, right? And I get it. Maybe that doesn't stop. Maybe they're in a shootout. I get that. But to me, when somebody's throwing, what was it? I had it just now. I lost it. I don't even know how many attempts he had, but I'm talking about like over 40 or 50 attempts every week. That's insane.
Well, that's not true because who has the most attempts after the first 2 weeks?
What?
You know who has the most passing attempts after the first 2 weeks is, right?
Who does?
Gary should know this. It's Joe Flacco with 102.
Oh, because they threw the first time they threw for 59 passing attempts, and then last week they did a lot at the end there.
Yeah, so they're 102, and he's about. They said if I looked at it right, he's about 15 more attempts than the next closest guy, Joe Flacco. So out of all people,
I mean, Carson Wentz has 87. So that's
what I said. It's not so.
Good.
That's what I'm saying. But you're making it. I don't want you to exaggerate it too much. No, I agree with you. Very good. I'm not trying to downplay it. I just know that 102 is the most passing attempts in the league right now by Joe Flacco. So
I don't know why. Oh, sorry. You know what? You say Joe Flacco, and I immediately went to Baltimore, and I'm checking out Lamar Jackson. I'm like, he has like 59. What are you talking about? Yeah, so he has 103 passing attempts, right?
Yeah.
63 completion. Ooh, that's horrible. But either way, so to me, it's like, when you bring Curtis Samuel, like, I think James Robinson has a higher chance of keeping that up where, Achilles injury, a rookie running back, not rookie, right? Second year running back that got hurt last year, that offense in Jacksonville, and bro, the things that he's doing. So, but either way, just go with whoever you want. That was just my, 2 cents on that.
Yeah, that's why I said it was hard for me to choose between the two because some people would say, well, Robinson was only looked at because of the injury. So, he's doing what he's always expected to do. Curtis Samuel, people kind of thought he was left for dead out there and his best days were behind him. And he's now fucking balling out. So that's why it was hard for me to choose between the two.
James Robinson was kind of counted out, right? I mean, I think you got a good point there. He was counted out, but ETN was also a bust. That's another bust candidate right there so far. So I think you just, said two things at once there.
Yeah, so that's why that's why I think both of them are fantasy.
Should we consider these two guys sell high candidates?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Should we be going out there and selling James Robinson and Curtis Samuel like, woo?
Yeah. No, I will say this: I don't think James Robinson is a sell high candidate. I don't know if I'd be looking to sell him because he has a history of just showing people like, "Hey, man, you don't want me to play, but I'm going to continue to fucking play." Curtis Samuel, I feel like has a potential to come back down to earth. I'd be selling Curtis Samuel right now to the highest bidder. I'd be trying to offload. I'd be hitting everybody up. Hey, man, I got the number 8 wide receiver in the league. I'll give you a deal. You just got to give me somebody like, I don't know, Jamar Chase
could push that.
Maybe a Javonte Adams. You could throw something out there like that.
Crazy.
But I know nothing crazy.
Yeah,
so I'd be trying I was joking. But I'll be trying to sell the shit out of Samuel.
Will you trade Damien Pierce for James Robinson?
Yes.
You will get James Robinson.
Yes.
Will you trade?
Yes.
Well, Mark Andrews is a big game, but that will probably be the only running back I will mention there. But
yeah, I would absolutely trade. I would trade James Robinson for Damien Pierce.
Okay, Gary, will you trade Javonte Williams for James Robinson?
No.
Yeah. So it's okay. I just wanted to get an idea of when we're talking about selling high, right? And Sheckman saying that he will not be looking to sell him. You see the difference of Damien Pierce drafted in the 4th to 6th round, Javonte Williams drafted in the 2nd round, right? And then the way that he's outperforming both of them right now.
Well, the thing I look at though, once again, I don't base it just off of where I don't care anymore where I drafted. I'm looking at the way the construction and I know it's only 2 weeks, so it can change. I get that. I'm not disregarding that. But if I look at the offense between Houston and Jacksonville has a better ability to move the ball. And I think they have a better looking offense than Houston. So do I think that Damien Pierce is a better talent than James Robinson? Abso-fucking-lutely. But do I think he's going to have a harder time being able to get me fantasy points because of how bad that offense is versus James Robinson? I'll take James Robinson splitting time versus Damien Pierce and having a horrible offensive line.
Now, here's the thing with Pierce too. If you give Red Burkhead's numbers to Damien Pierce, you have a stud running back. I think the problem with Pierce is that he's getting most of the work, most of the passing work, which is causing him to not perform to the level.
I get it, but I mean, how many running backs? I mean, how you can only count maybe a handful of running backs in the entire league, who are going to get that kind of workload that you're talking about. If you gave Burkhead, you gave Pierce Burkhead's workload, right? I mean, let's look at this, and this is where talent outshines everything on offense and player. You look at my mind just went blank to what his name is. The running back for Detroit. I don't know why I just forgot his name.
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift. Do you know how many touches Swift got last game? 7. 7 touches. He scored 18 points. He only needed to touch the ball 7 times. Okay, That's a huge talent above and beyond anybody else on the field. You know what I'm saying? So when we're talking about that, dude, Damien, I mean, I can name 100 running backs in the league right now that got more touches than DeAndre Swift.
Hey, sorry, I didn't know I wasn't on the thing, but look up. Pierce is not even. They wouldn't even give Pierce that, even if Burkhead wasn't there. Pierce is not a receiving running back. He's just not. If you pull up his college numbers, and go look at how many receptions he had in college, I want to say it was maybe 30 total.
That's hard too, though, because he wasn't a starting running back.
They would not. They're not. That's been the issue all offseason as well, and that's what they've talked about. Is Pierce, good runner, okay, but even if Burkhead wasn't there, someone else, he's just not. That's not his role. That's not what he does.
No, I think the idea with Damien Pierce was, a running back coming into this league, into this team, nobody else on that team, and the way that at least the coaching staff sold him, right, not playing him in the preseason. Treating him like the starting running back, you did not expect him to be playing like this, right? Only 1 target each game. That's just
no. I definitely had. That's why I stayed away from Pierce. I knew he'd get week 1 they try to give Burkhead all the carries, and then they came out and said, okay, we're going to give Pierce carries, but I knew that. I knew he wasn't on my draft radar just because he's on that offense. He's not going to get any of the passing down work.
Sucks.
And so now you got this guy that, he'll get good production from rushing, where 70 yards, 80 yards off 15, 16 carries, whatever. But you need a touchdown from him. The offense just isn't going to be scoring that many points. So Pierce, I just stayed away from Pierce because I knew he was not going to be involved in the passing whatsoever.
Nice.
So, Filter, who do you got? Did you say who your
breakout player,
fantasy breakout was?
Yeah, mine was Kirk, and then you can just go down the line. Garrett from the Jets. I know Dak, but we didn't talk about Garrett. Where is he at right now after that big game? Yeah,
that's the problem. We're talking about one big game. What did he do the first game?
No, he had a good first game too.
Okay, that's what I didn't know. I didn't.
So he's sitting at 3, 6, 9, 11. Yeah. So he's number 11.
He had
basically the same amount of
8 targets the first game, 14 targets this game, and again he's a rookie.
Yeah.
So, but still 8 targets the first one, 14 in the second one.
The problem with him.
Did you see the Cleveland Brown quote? Sorry, check. The Cleveland Brown defender at the end of the game, they caught him saying that he sees some of Jefferson vibes on him, and that nobody wanted to guard him.
Here's the problem.
Literally after the game.
Here's the problem.
It got me
Here's the
chills.
problem. Like we talked. This is what worries me about Garrett. Right. I don't know if you were here, Filter, when we talked about it. We just talked about how Joe Flacco has the most passing attempts in the entire NFL right now at 103. Okay, like 15 more than anybody else. Okay, so he has that playing in his favor. Number one, and number two, what do we really think of Zach Wilson? Right? No offense, Zach Wilson's coming back. He's gonna play. Like, I just don't know. Like, Garrett Wilson, hey, man, you drafted him that high. You expect him to do what he's doing. I agree. I just don't. That's one of those players
But
that I might be selling high.
Where did he get drafted in our league? See, Terry did that little scam during the draft.
No, I did not. No.
He did the little scam during the draft.
Can work for me. Let me go back to that. Don't put me on the spot. Mr. Easy drafted Garrett Wilson. He grabbed the sticker. He put it on the board. And then Mr. Jets himself, Gary Scott, say, that's the first rounder that I have never heard anything about in the longest time. And Mr. Easy freaked out, started sweating, took the sticker off, and drafted Tyler Boyd. Nobody else from round 9 to round 15 drafted Garrett Wilson until it was Terry's turn. And I say, wait a second.
That's because he was rolled up when he put him back. He was rolled up
His
on the
sticker was rolled up and nobody did
knew it was there.
I try to help Easy.
But the point is, what do we project him to be able to do once Zach Wilson comes back onto the team?
Same thing. Who else are there? Elijah Moore. You can add him to the bus thing right now, right? Elijah Moore has a lot of hype was for Elijah Moore based off how he finished the season last year and going in. Where did Elijah Moore go? Into the 4th, 5th round, beginning of the 5th.
Yeah. I think Garrett Wilson is probably a product too of, I don't know if you heard this or not earlier, Filter, of Joe Flacco, 103 pass attempts, right? That's a huge number in 2 weeks. So that could also be.
But they're still. What do you think it's gonna change? Like, they're not throwing that many times because we got Joe Flacco. Let's throw it as much as we can. Like, they're gonna keep throwing it like that.
Yeah, but
what they're doing.
Do you think Joe Flacco is a better quarterback throwing than Zach Wilson? That's what it comes down to.
No, I think it doesn't matter. I think it does. If they're gonna throw that many times and they're gonna if Garrett's gonna get anywhere from 9 to 14 targets a game, like it doesn't matter.
It does, because if you take 5 or 6 of those targets and they're uncatchable. Then why'd you ask
me if you're gonna?
Because I'm just curious, but I'm saying if you have 5 or 6 of those targets that are uncatchable, the way Zach Wilson throws the ball, you got to put some context to it, because that's like saying you get the worst quarterback in the league, Cooper Rush, right? I mean,
he's pretty good.
Let's say, but I don't know who's a really bad quarterback.
Daniel Jones.
Okay, I agree, right? If Kenny Galladay is getting 10 to 12 targets a game, but half of them aren't catchable.
That was a terrible example.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just saying, Zach Wilson doesn't look like a guy who's good. Okay, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to remember a quarterback.
I know what you're saying. Now, I'm
trying to remember a quarterback from the past that we used to say that about. It's like, dude, they throw the ball at this guy all the time, but they're almost never catchable. So those targets are like they're inflated stats that you're looking at, because they're technically a target, but the ball's never even close enough for them to catch.
We'll just agree. Apparently, you guys have been talking about it for a minute. Agree to disagree. Other player that I was thinking about for breakout, Curtis Samuel.
I already named him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say even Carson Wentz. You can put Doxson. You can put a lot of the Commanders players on there. Even Gibson. Where'd you get Gibson at?
I was just saying Gibson is another good option, because everybody wrote him off.
Everybody was so down on him, and then all of a sudden he's out there. He's actually getting more receptions. He's actually, they're using him at the goal line, and before Roberts got shot, right? Everybody's like, oh, this is gonna be. He'll be the short yardage back, and McKissick will be the receiving back, and Gibson will be like your in between. But I don't know, man. Like Gibson, how he's playing right now is showing like, man, I don't think they're just going to come in and now Robinson comes back, and I don't know. Gibson.
But I think I agree with you that I don't think he'll be able to overtake it. I think the difference is that they're finally seeing from him what they were trying to see from him the whole time, and they were having problems doing. before. You know, they weren't able to get that from him before. And now when they threaten to make him a kickoff return specialist, they're like, okay, he comes out. All right. But it's been about 45 minutes. We're about to go ahead and wrap it up. Anybody got any final takes they want to throw out there before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I do. Blessings to everyone. If you're watching this, blessings to you. If you're listening to this, blessings to you. Blessings to the league. Blessings to Terry and Gary and the monster on the mic. Blessings
I will say,
to all.
if you look at Terry walk through his home, hold on. If you look at Terry walking through his home, it definitely looks to me like he has plenty of blessings to go around. So go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, they give you a stipend when you cross over. They just like hand you $100,000 and then you furnish your house that they gave you.
As it comes.
A couple players to look out for that I think are going to break out from here on out. You know, staying on the Jets. You know, Breece Hall, he like increased his workload like 25% from the first week to the second week, and that's like what they were trying to do. So he's gonna continue to trend upwards. And then also Javonte Williams he's going to break away from Gordon. He's going to be another breakout candidate.
I like Javonte.
Not week 2, but we could be talking about week 4, week 5, or something like that.
Yeah, no, listen, I like Javonte. The only thing that scares me about him, it's not him, it's not his talent, it's Russell Wilson and how bad he's looked. Like,
yeah, but that's a good thing for Javonte. How many targets is Javonte getting and receptions?
Like, he has the most receptions and the most targets per route run.
Yeah, no, okay, you guys are right. I'm just saying, that offense is just looking. But that could equal a lot of points for him. So I get what you're saying. Okay. I don't disagree.
Wait
a minute. Did we just miss what just happened? What did you just say, Sheckman?
What?
Did you say we were right?
No.
Is this the first time that's ever been said on
I never said that.
Generation?
No, he told me I was right this morning of drafting Thielen too early.
Oh yeah, I gave him a blessing for that. Like as soon as he did it, I gave him a blessing. Like, man.
Hey, man, listen, I can't help that the offense is atrocious in Minnesota. They don't want to run the ball. They don't want to throw the ball at anybody but Justin Jefferson, and they're not going to win a lot of games if they keep on doing it like that. But I digress. I messed up. I drafted Thielen way higher than I should have. I had high hopes for him. I fucked up. With that being said, that's all we got for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Golden Goose League. Yep. Blessings be to you all. Salutes, and we out.